Hello there. We are going to talk a little bit about structure and how you inject feeling into your structure. If you will allow me an analogy, it doesn't matter whether your structure is castle-like and has spires and turrets and a drawbridge and a moat, little slits so the arrows can come out, or if it is, I'm not starting again. Or if it is a handmade hut in the woods made of twigs and clay with a little hole in the roof so that the smoke can get out, there is going to be a commonality. There are going to be walls, there's going to be a door, there's going to be a floor. Depending on how you build what you build, there's going to be a roof. But we recognize, even if it is sticks and wattle in the woods, we recognize what a structure looks like that is basically housing of some kind. It keeps the heat in and the cold out. Or in the summer, it keeps the cool in and the heat out. But we recognize that there is a certain structure, and it is the same with a novel. It doesn't really matter how you get there. So, for example, a lot of people swear by Save the Cat. Excellent, excellent book. I think you should read everything and find out what works for you. I know a couple of people who read this every single year. In the last couple of years, I have been working on a charity project to raise money for my sister-in-law's mother. And we had over 30 writers come and join us, writing for free, to raise money to save her house. And we needed to agree on a structure because we were co-writing. All of these writers were co-writing in teams. And we needed to agree on a voice, and we needed to agree on we plotted together for real. But we also needed a structure that everyone was going to write into so that nobody could get lost and go off on a tangent writing in quite a different style. We couldn't have a castle builder next to a hut builder because they would really stand out. You'd be able to see the differences in the structure. So I picked the hero's journey. Because it is a good, solid foundation, and all of us have been inundated with stories that are a version of the hero's journey. So this is where it began. The Hero with 1,000 Faces. Great background reading if you want to do some background reading. Of course, the master of all of this is John Truby. He's got a new book coming out, which Craig was talking about earlier today with John. And, that's a must-have as far as I'm concerned. But if you want a really super duper easy cheat sheet way to get into the hero's journey and have all of that stuff boiled down to the absolute basics, you need to get this book. I cannot recommend this book highly enough. It is absolutely terrific, and it takes all of the theory. If you're like me and you love theory, read Joseph Campbell. And if you don't, if it's a bit too esoteric, or you don't have that kind of time, or you don't have the inclination, Libby Hawker's book, Take Off Your Pants, has all of the elements of the hero's journey packed into this book. And what I'm going to do is I am going to share, with her permission, I wrote to her and asked her permission, I am going to share a template that I made based on the hero's journey and a combination of, having the misbelief and the other elements I believe that you need when you are plotting, so that you can see what the structure looks like if you're using the hero's journey. So let's take a couple of examples of the hero's journey. The Matrix. The Matrix is a classic hero's journey. We have got a reluctant hero who is called to action, who refuses that call, doesn't believe in the world, let alone the fact that he is the chosen one, and goes on this quest. And the quest, the stakes couldn't be any higher, could they? The stakes are the entire enslaved population of the world. It is just terrific. I mean, the follow-on movies, left a bit to be desired, right? But the original was just wonderful, wonderful, wonderful filmmaking. Hero's journey, up, down, and back again. Let's have a think if there's something that is less obvious. Shrek. Shrek is a hero's journey story. So we've got an ogre who is down in his swamp. His swamp gets invaded, and he goes stomping off to the king, I believe, if I'm remembering that correctly, to get these people off his land. He's a reluctant hero, drawn into a quest, and then has to go through a series of trials, in his case, to win the love of his life. One that you might not have heard of, and it's a bit quirky and it goes off the path a couple of times, but a few years ago, a series that came out, it's not finished yet, called Britannia, and it is set with the second invasion of the Romans coming to Britain. And it is just terrific. It is full of all the tropey stuff that I love. There are druids, there are woods, there are rivers. There is the helper character is slightly deranged, has visions, and Kate of the Canty, this young woman right on the cusp of adulthood, is the chosen one, reluctant chosen hero. Who has to go through a series of trials in order to save her people. So the stakes are really high, and we've got this underpinning, this structural underpinning that allows us to load in relatable characters, not likable, relatable characters who have a flaw, which we're going to examine some more a little bit later in the week. I've got a couple of people coming on to talk to me about their characters and how the flaw of the protagonist has to match up with the flaw of the antagonist. So we've got a relatable character in a situation with stakes that are depending on the feeling that you're going for, because you always want your readers to feel, but what you want them to feel will change how high the stakes are. So, for example, when I'm writing post-apoc, I want the stakes to be really high. I want them to be Matrix high. But when I'm writing rom-com, which I'm doing at the moment, the stakes are quite different. They are psychological stakes, but they're not the world will end. Maybe my heart will be broken, but the world won't end. So the pressure that you've got is different, even though the structure is the same. When you, really, I can't say it often enough, buy this book. Go now and buy this book. Do yourself a favor. One of the things that Libby Hawker talks about is the deep structure of goal, attack, thwart. So your character has got a goal. There is an attack on that goal, part of the quest, something they have to overcome, so plot-related thing. And they are thwarted, they fail. Now, they don't fail every time, but if they succeed into not exactly that goal. So we've got an overarching goal for the whole story, and then we've got mini goals that could be scene length, they could be chapter length, depending on how much stress you want your readers to be under. Goal, attack, thwart will be very close together if you want something that is really fast-paced. And if you want something gentler and slower paced, then goal, attack, thwart will be spaced out, maybe even over chapters. So it really depends. That triangle of goal, attack, thwart, that is going to be genre specific. The actual structure isn't genre specific, but what you do with those pieces is genre specific. And you need to understand goal, attack, thwart, and you need to understand what you are aiming for in the feeling department, which is why at the very beginning of this, we talked about what you want your readers to feel. You are going to ask yourself that question when you look at characterization, when you look at their character flaw, their misbelief, when you look at the id stuff. Great work on the id stuff. I love reading your lists. That was a ton of fun. Really, really good job on that. I want you to go away and look at your blurb, and I want you to outline, so go through, look at all the tropes, and tell me what the id thing is and what the resultant feeling is. Is that clear? So you're going to go through, just take your blurb, because you want something that's pretty compact, and you are going to, so you've got your mad scientist. Mad scientist is a trope, right? And you want to know what the feeling is that you're going to attach to this mad scientist. And I'm going to attach anxiety, because I want you to be really anxious about whether or not this person can save the world. So fringe-like thing. And then I want you to id that character up. What are you going to give them that will make us more anxious? So think about the id stuff for each of those elements in your blurb. I mean, it's homework and you might not want to do it, but I'm going to offer this very, very spaceship-like beautiful rock for whoever gets pulled out of the hat. So give it a try. Ask me questions. As usual, I'm my usual self-deprived self, but I hope there is something useful. Buy the book. It's not mine. I mean, I am not Libby Hawker. I'm never going to try and sell you something, but I really, truly recommend it. All right, on we go.